That means it's becoming even more difficult for some to make it in the Bay. And you've got the state's eviction moratorium expiring as well. Now, several Bay Area counties have extended their local moratoriums. California received $5 billion in federal aid last year to establish a rent relief program to help those who lost their jobs during the pandemic. Data shows 340,000 households have been helped with an average payment of nearly $12,000. Our Marcus Washington spoke with Joshua Howard, the executive vice president with the California Apartment Association, in depth about this issue.
I think it's important to remember what exactly was in effect, and what expired on July 1st was the state eviction moratorium that protected those renters who had pending applications for rental assistance. And many of those applications have been processed, and there's still several more to be processed. CAA is encouraging rental property owners with tenants who still have pending applications to work with their tenants, because an eviction is a very expensive and a very time-consuming process. And as long as someone still has a pending application, we're encouraging landlords to work closely with their residents so that they can continue to stay in their home until their rental assistance application is complete.
Okay, so I know you said you're telling those tenants and those who are over the apartments to kind of work with them, but what is that process like, especially if your application is being processed and your landlord potentially is looking to put you out? What is the process like, and what should people do?
We're encouraging rental property owners to work closely with their residents, and for residents to work closely with their property owners and landlords. Let's face it, an eviction is a very time-consuming, very expensive process that requires a whole host of paperwork and a whole host of steps in the courts. And we are asking those owners with those applicants that are still pending to continue working with their tenants. But we have to remember that rental property owners were asked to shoulder a significant burden during the pandemic, and for many months, if not 2 years, had to forego collecting rent from those residents who couldn't pay rent or simply refused to pay rent because of the eviction moratorium. And rental property owners didn't always get paycheck protection loans. They didn't always get enhanced unemployment assistance, and they didn't get stimulus checks. So they still have their own bills to pay. They still have to pay a mortgage, pay property taxes, pay insurance, pay their own employees. But as we are beginning to come out of this very difficult pandemic, we are encouraging property owners who still have tenants with pending applications, work with your tenants. Tenants, cooperate with your rental property owner, cooperate with your landlord, and work closely to get this application as close to done as possible. And the state and local programs are doing their best to get these payments processed and the checks out the door as quickly as they can.
What is the timeline on that process for a lot of those applications? I understand that the state has a lot to deal with right now, but what is the timeline looking like?
Well, we're hopeful and confident that by the end of August, those pending applications will be processed and checks will be cut. We've heard assurances from the state and from the different local programs that they're working feverishly to get those applications processed, the checks out, and hopefully have it all done within the next 6 weeks.
All right, thank you, Marcus and Joshua. California's housing crisis, the focus of our investigative series, Overpriced, Overwhelmed, Over It. You can stream it now on NBCBayArea.com/overpriced, and of course, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.